Hello everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a very short astrology update, and this is for the 5th of March 2020. And I love this little space that I'm in right now around how and why I wanted to do this quick little update. And I would say that it's this really interesting experience between Mercury leaving Pisces and entering Aquarius, and my mind going from or my ability to language things, to label stuff, to be able to make a sense of a deep internal process when it was in Pisces. And I'm sure some of you have actually been experiencing something similar, but when it was in Pisces, I was like, wow, there's all this intuitive insight that's there, but the moment I try and capture it in a way that could make coherent sense, it felt as if I was just swimming around in a bowl of spaghetti that had been painted blue, green, yellow, orange, and then just a bunch of Fruit Loops was thrown inside there as well. So it was definitely a really challenging space to be able to be in. And so as Mercury sort of moves into Aquarius now, 29 degrees retrograde, the capacity to articulate what it is that I sense around the chart at the moment seems to be more coherent. So here's my attempt today to translate to you something that I see very interesting about the nature of the chart and the current energy right now, up until the full moon that's going to be happening on the 9th, which, by the way, that video is also being released today as well. So for those of you that noticed that there's a full moon video as well as this update is in preparation for the full moon that's taking place in Virgo. Okay, so the image that I've chosen today to highlight and personify the planetary symbols is this interesting relationship where you've got these mushrooms growing on top of this tree trunk, and there's some moss that is also on top of the tree trunk as well. And what fascinates me about this exact sort of expression in nature is that if you look very closely towards the tree trunk or the wood itself, and you look at the organic growth that is occurring on top of it, it's safe to say that prior to this kind of ecosystem that is existing here, this tree was in a fully formed structure that had a life of its own, that was holding an ecosystem for the environment and the bugs and the the birds, etc. for a long period of time. It was the sustainable form. And the translation for that space and the history of this tree trunk or bark, or wood itself, is the Pluto through Capricorn dynamic. That for all of us living on the planet right now, or should I say, for all of us living on the planet right now, it's true that there was a paradigm of reality that was sort of the past, and that we associated with a life pre-technology, as an example. Thinking about like 1965, when we're looking at like the television and how that impacted our lives. We fast forward to sort of the 80s, and we start to know that color becomes very prominent within television, and creative expression starts to materialize itself in a very profound way. The 90s and the year 2000s reflect a kind of liberation from borders and boundaries, and the 2000s speak to the acceleration of human consciousness through the integration of technology. And through much of 2010s, we've observed a societal structure manifest itself out of the old. And that's what this image speaks to me so much of, is that the history of our life, just dating back 70, 80 years, is a reflection of an old aspect of structural reality that we all interfaced with, right? The definitions, the language, the labels, 1950s, 1960s, and even in the 1990s, corporal punishment for example, was something that, seemed to be legitimate. It was like, if you did something bad and the school decided that this was punishable, like you got whacked with whatever sort of instrument. And there were a tremendous amount of ways in which we as a society governed ourselves according to the principles and rules and regulations that we thought were, sane at the time. And yet, simultaneously, the content of that reality, as it fades away progressively, as we start to see the nature of that period as something that is outdated. So, on top of this decaying structural nature, grows organically a new ecosystem. And we, as a society and as a race at this point in time, are interfacing where this old societal structure is existing in a specific place, and what is sort of mutating and growing on top of that is an entirely new ecosystem, an entirely new dynamic of life. And I find it really fascinating because when we kind of look at the astrology chart here at the moment, and there I am, when you look at the astrology chart, why the 5th of March and sort of the 4th of March and 3rd of March and everything up until the 9th of March, which is when we have the full moon in Virgo, this type of energy at the moment feels to me, and to many others that I've observed, like we are needing to experience going back to the parts of our reality that we haven't attended to. Okay, so let me be more clearer and sort of contrast that to the image that's behind you over here, and also the it's called the nutritional system or cycle that you find in ecology. So I'm not an expert on ecology. I've never studied it, but I was doing some reading based on intuitive insight that came to me, and I read about the process of how nature itself needs to go through a process of having to clean out all of the debris and all of the sort of undergrowth so the undergrowth, and it needs to clean out any like wasted material within its growth cycle, and it needs to recycle that. Okay, so it's called the nutritional cycle, and this is referring to a natural phenomena that occurs within nature, where when we are cleaning out, okay, and that's the core context here. We are in a phase of cleaning out, okay, like cleaning out space, moving things around, and attending to the things that we repressed the most. So that's the message here. What have we repressed the most? What have we decided to say, I don't want to deal with that right now because it's too whatever. And so we've put it aside and we've said, I don't want to deal with that right now. Now that we've kind of cleaned out so much stuff, the only thing that's left is that space. And so it looks like having to attend to things that are unsaid between yourself and a friend, yourself and a partner. It looks like attending to things that have happened, say, 3 months ago or 3 weeks ago, that you didn't want to deal with. You may have not known how to deal with it. It might be too complicated. Whatever that might be, things are surfacing for us at the moment in which we're really, really seeing the bottom line of stuff. This is kind of Saturn at 28 degrees Capricorn, Mercury retrograde, and of course the Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, and South Node energy that's all sitting in Capricorn, right? And that's, of course, all connecting to the moon here. So from I would say the 3rd of March up until the 9th, there's a cleansing process that's occurring, and it's more about attending to the things that needed to be attended to, that you have felt you didn't want to deal with, or you didn't know how to deal with. And it's looking at what is showing up in your life and saying, okay, I've put that aside and now I've got to interface with it. I've got to clean that out. Okay. And this natural nutritional recycling process allows for the earth that is beneath your sort of life to be regenerated. So when the full moon in Virgo takes place and we are in a phase of sort of cleaning and digesting and purifying, that what we have attended to starts to move along. life starts to move forward, or life starts to move, and the things that were buried deeply are now being reabsorbed in your life. So you're reabsorbing all of the dead wood, you're reabsorbing all of the things that are stagnant, as it were. And through that process, it actually provides a kinetic energy to be able to then offer the nutrients for new life. And so you're feeding yourself by allowing yourself to digest the things that haven't been digested. And Virgo is a great example of the necessity for digesting. So just this little quick video today about the importance of looking at your life between, say, the 3rd up until the 9th, and attending to the things that need to be attended to, okay? And in a process of naturally rejuvenating the energy around you, cleaning out that needs to be cleaned out. I remember when I was a kid, sometimes I would sort of like put clothes that I had right at the back of the clothes cupboard. And at some point when you did a spring clean, as an example, or you did a deep clean process, you'd come back to the end over there and there'd be a t-shirt that's been there for like 2 months, as an example. And when you pull it out, because it's been there for 2 months, there's a tendency for the smell, for instance, to got that cupboard smell. And so that's what I'm referring to. It's like really, really stretching into the depths of your own process and pulling out the stuff that has been lying there for a long period of time and letting it out to dry, giving it air, as it were. Okay. All right, peeps, have a good week. And for those of you that are interested in the new moon or the full moon video, that will be uploaded as well along here, and we'll talk about what that actually means for us as well. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.